Hello and welcome to the Publicly Challenged Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Oswald, and I hope you join me on my quest for knowledge to become a better public land hunter, angler, and forager. Stick with this and who knows, maybe we will learn something together. All right, real quick before we get started on the show, I'm just going to talk about Treeline Academy. You've heard me say it. I can't even tell you how many times. Mark Livesey is treelineacademy.net. That's treelineacademy.net. Sign up. Use the promo code PC2020. Save yourself $20. Can't say it enough. It's awesome, amazing, most comprehensive e-scouting course out there. Check it out for yourself. Sign up. Use promo code PC2020. And now let's get to the show. All right, so I'm sitting here and I am talking to Brian Barney. And Brian, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for the listeners who don't know who you are?
Yeah, so my name's Brian Barney. I work for Eastman's Hunting Journal, so do a bunch of their writing, videography, and then I run a podcast, Eastman's Elevated. And man, I pretty much dedicated the last 20 years of my life to backcountry bow hunting. I absolutely love adventure, and I love everything that the lower 48 has to offer. So I'm getting pumped. We're down to final countdown, and I'm 5 days away from the start of my season. So you caught me at a good time, Luke.
So at the start of your season, what are you going after then? You doing like velvet mule deer or what's going on?
Yep, I've got a couple high country mule deer hunts, which I absolutely love. Like it takes place in the most extreme of environments, above timberline, alpine basins, giant bucks, and those bucks of our dreams. Like they exist in today's day and age. I mean, you can find them 30 inches wide and 200 inches, and stickers and kickers, and so. Man, this is like I'm going back to a mountain range I haven't been since 2015. So I've hunted this range a couple times. It's just an awesome range. And so, yeah, man, my stoke level is at a 10 for sure, maybe an 11.
Brian, I'm pretty sure your stoke level is always at a 10 or 11, so I can't imagine if you're actually truly excited more than you already are most of the time. But you're being modest. I mean, not only that, but you run a construction company and you do all kinds of other stuff too. You're always running every day. And that's kind of why I wanted to get you on and talk to you because, I mean, it's guys like you who are like, it's inspirational to watch the motivation, the drive, and everything that you have. And I kind of want to just get an insight into that because a lot of people might not know this if they've never hiked with you or they've never hunted with you, but you have the nickname, the Mountain Goat. And for good reason, because not a lot of people can keep up with you. And I remember one time we were sitting there and we were glassing actually at the summit. And I said, you know, maybe when Brian's in his late 60s or early 70s, I'll be able to keep up with him on the mountain. And you turn and looked at me and you go, nah, I doubt it. You'll never beat me to the summit because you said you'll always.
I don't know about that. No, you definitely have a chance to beat me in my 60s and 70s. But my point is, I'm going to keep myself in really good shape and rip these mountains, man. Yeah, these backcountry hunts, they're wild. Like I learned these lessons early in my life that the harder I worked at something, the more I could achieve, and the more work that I put into backcountry bow hunting, and it almost required it. Like backcountry bow hunting is so challenging and it's so demanding. And takes me to my limits, both physically and mentally. And so, you know, I started working and training towards these hunts. And I mean, success rates on these backcountry bow hunts, I mean, they run anywhere from 5% to maybe 15-20% in the best of units. And so that's $1 every 20 years or $1 every 5 years, which, you know, I just wasn't happy with those success odds, or I wanted to beat those odds. And so the more I worked at it and the more I put into it, the more I could achieve, and the better I felt on these hunts, the more I enjoyed it. It's also like the more you put into something, like the more enjoyment you get out of it, or the more that goes in the amount of work that you put in prior to season, like it just means more when you accomplish your goals. So yeah, I took up running again and started with 5Ks and 10Ks and things, and started to see some success, not only from that, but working on all facets of hunting, from my stalking skill, physical fitness, mental toughness, which is also built through training, through my shooting. Like I've gone deep down all of these rabbit holes to improve all these skill sets to so when I show up at the trailhead, I'm undeniable, or at least I like to think I am. But backcountry bow hunting has a way of humbling me and everyone else. And so it just takes this complete dedication. And so, yeah, the harder I worked, the more success I saw, the more enjoyment I saw. And so, man, I'm all in. It seems like I'm pushing my limits of what I'm capable of like every season, every place I go. So yeah, it's been a really fun journey, man.
So, I mean, are you still doing the ultra marathon type stuff, or is that kind of to the wayside, or how's that going?
Yeah, so I did. I started off doing races and doing marathons. I did a bunch of marathons, and then I started taking to the trails, and I ran some ultra marathons. But I pretty much am bow hunting or thinking about bow hunting all year. And the reason I started this was to be a better bow hunter. And so when I started doing these ultras, they just take so much time, like so much time training, time away from my family to get ready for 100 miler or whatever. And so yeah, I got a couple ultras under my belt, and it's just kind of not my deal. Like, I'd rather be training for hunting season, and then like a big part of my training would take away from my spring bear season. So it's great I ran an ultra, but I didn't kill a spring black bear with my bow, and that bothered me. Like, I had my priorities messed up, and so like bow hunting's what I love to do and what I want to spend my time doing. So I run, and it's a huge part of my training and my mental training. But I haven't entered a race in probably it's probably been like 6 or 7 years. But I run trails every day. I run elevation every day, and that's the key for me. And also, like I try to get these long runs in or these big pushes where every week I'm doing a double-digit mile run, or I'm running in the heat, or I'm going and gaining 3,000 feet of vert. And so, really, I found my happiness doing that. And when I do these ultras, after I was done, I'd be so burnt out of running that I'd have to take a couple weeks off to recover or a month off to recover. And it's just not good for my psyche. Like I do good when I'm putting in work day in, day out. And so like I'm a 6 day a week or a 7 day a week runner. And if I blow myself up, then I'm not good for the next week or the next few days or whatever. So I've kind of found my happy medium with running and my enjoyment level with running and training. So I haven't entered any of those races for a while now.
No, that's pretty cool though. You mentioned that you try and you strive to push yourself to get at least double digits, throughout the week. Is that something that you came up with and like set as a goal, or was it something that you just automatically strive to do to try and push yourself further and further?
Man, it's wild. I mean, like the body adapts to the stress you put on it. So the more you run, like, the first 5 mile run with 1,500 feet of vertical, you get done with that and you're tired and your legs are worn out and maybe sore the next couple days. And then your body starts to get used to that to where, I know I'm getting a workout, but I'm not balling myself up or I'm not pushing my limits. And so it's just something that's come over time, like an evolution of running that just works really good for me. But those long runs, man, they're so good for me. Like to have my legs burnt out or tired or fatigued and have to keep putting one foot in front of the other, or to have those feelings in my head telling, oh, you should just head back, or you should go back and to fight through those feelings. Like I build a lot of physical fitness from that, and also mental strength, that discipline of making myself do it and doing things that are difficult. Like we grow through adversity. And so the more times I can put myself in these tough situations in my training, like the easier it's going to be on a 10-day backpack hunt when I'm absolutely burnt, my legs are fatigued. Like I know I've ran all year long and I've done these tough ones, and like I pride myself on getting out. I mean, we have Montana winters where it's 20 below, snow blowing sideways at 30 miles an hour. And I get home in the dark from my construction job and I lace up my shoes and I go run. I make myself do it. And so when it comes to season and going and seeing what's over that next ridge or making a stalk on that buck, like I have no limitations. I can go anywhere and I can trust my body and trust my mind to get me there. And so I get a lot of that through my training.
No, that's awesome. I actually kind of just, for the first time, pushed myself that far in a little while, and it wasn't even that big of a deal. But for somebody who didn't do that level of fitness or something like that, like I've always been able to just mentally say, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get there. It's always been on my own pace or my own time or whatever, but actually racing against myself. And so I went to the beast mode archery, and I did. It was the mini. It wasn't the full one, but so we had Brian came up with a whole set of different stuff we were doing, and it was like I was smoked after the first set, and dragging a sled up a ski hill and all that kind of stuff, and over unders and carrying stuff, and then burpees, and then pick up your bow and have to shoot it and actually try and make a shot placement and get shot penalties for not hitting it. So then you look at your time and you're like, man, I know I could do better than that. And it was the first time like in a long time that I'd actually pushed myself like that. And it was amazing. Even though I dreaded it, that first round, I completely dreaded it. And I was like, this sucks. I can't believe I got to go again. But it was time for me to get back up there. I jumped up there and I did it, and I actually beat my time. But I screwed myself on my shots. But ever since I did that, there's been something in my head that just keeps clicking. And it's like, you could do better than that. I know you can do better than that. Why don't you push yourself and do better than that? And it's kind of started this internal drive to where now I'm competing against myself, nobody else, just myself, to see how far I can take it. And it's kind of cool. It's neat because I haven't experienced that in quite a while.
Dude, that's so killer. It's what it's all about, man. Yeah, and it's same thing for me. Like running now comes pretty easy. Long runs comes pretty easy. I've been doing it for so many years. It's just normal to me. It's not effort for me. But yeah, for me, it's doing those difficult things like you're talking about. Like I'm not a CrossFit guy, even though I do have to keep my upper body strong, and I'm always doing body weights, pull-ups, push-ups, kettlebell workouts and things. But yeah, I mean, I struggle with those CrossFit workouts for sure, and the competitiveness and pushing myself to my limits. And so yeah, it's like making us do the things that we don't want to do. Like that is mental toughness. And every time you do, it's adding those layers or putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, like getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. It's like the more we can push ourselves, just the better overall backcountry hunter we can be, and overall backcountry human, or just human in general. Like man, if you can tackle some of those things, it makes those problems at work seem smaller, makes those issues seem smaller. It's like, especially when you're in like an endurance run and the only thing you want to do is stop, but you keep going, like you gain strength through that. So yeah, man, it's all about adding those layers of toughness, and they pay dividends come season. That's for sure.
So one of the things I've been doing lately, and it's not every day, but when I get up a couple days a week, I get up and I run in the morning before work, go down in the basement and hit the treadmill. Lately, it's been Montana trails with one of the iFit trainers, kind of cool. And I get the elevation that way too. But I'll go up after that and I'll take a shower before work, and I've been taking a cold shower.
Mm.
And then I get out and I actually, it's great. Like, kind of sucks for that first minute or so. And then you're over that hump and you just do it and you get out. But so then I've been going into work, and some of the guys are like, man, why are you so freaking upbeat? And then I'm like, well, this is what I've been doing every morning. And they say, that sounds absolutely miserable. And my response to him was, you know what, though? Everything after that is going to be downhill and easy. My hard part of the day is already over. And it's like, it feels good. It feels good to do that. But it's not quite Brian Barney level for sure, because I don't know.
Oh, it is, man.
So how
I
do you
hate
get
the
there,
cold
though?
water. Yeah, I hate the cold water. Like I do a lot of heat training with saunas and heat work. Like I always run in the hottest part of the day. But yeah, I was lacking that cold water training, or that cold environment training, which you get some of those cold shock proteins. There's so many studies about the benefits of like cold training like that. So yeah, I mean, my daughters are laughing at me as I'm standing outside in my underwear in the middle of the winter, or like you are, those cold showers, and they're tough to get into and tough for me to do, and I absolutely hate it. And so that's why I do it. I've also been running into this Alpine lake, and then I'll go soak myself in that Alpine lake up there, that's glacial fed, that's super cold. So same thing, man. I'm trying to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, so I'm doing that same cold shower training for sure.
So what else have you been doing to kind of, I mean, over the years, or something that you've incorporated lately to try and get that mental toughness or that edge?
Hmm. Yeah, I draw a lot from like these backcountry hunts. I draw a lot from scouting trips. Draw a lot from like this run training. And making myself do the things I don't want to do, like the cold water training, or like, running comes easy to me, and it seems like, I never feel like stretching, but it's so important to my flexibility. So that's something that I'm doing each and every night. Instead of sitting on the couch, I'm doing my stretches off the couch, and making sure that I stay flexible. Like us guys, we lose our flexibility, and a big part of strength is flexibility. Like when my back would go out, it wasn't because I was lacking strength. It was because I'd turn in an awkward position and my back would go out or something. And so gaining that flexibility has been huge. And so like it's just doing all the little things that add up to season. And also like for me to get ready for season, it's this physical training and this mental training, but it's also making sure that I have my mind right. Like you say, I run a construction company, and how you do one thing in life is how you do everything. So how I backcountry hunt is how I run my construction company. Like I want to do what I say and deliver on the words that I tell my clients. And so a lot of my the things I'm doing this time of year is like, making sure my wife feels loved and making sure I'm spending time with her and the kids. And if I've got enough energy to run, I've got enough energy to go up and do the dishes or cook dinner or whatever it is. But just making sure that they're fulfilled and that they know that I love them, because it's getting ready to be go time where I'm going to be gone from the house a lot. And they understand and support that. But, I want to make sure that I'm doing my part. I'm taking my daughter's senior pictures, which she's allowing me to do. And then at work, just trying to follow through. And I'm about 5 days away from leaving, and I got to do about 10 days worth of work in this time. So just trying to be real efficient and effective with my time, working mornings, working evenings, working throughout the day, just making sure that I get everything done so I can have my mind right. Like the worst thing in the world is to take time off and to not enjoy that time off, to be stressed and thinking about work or thinking about your family or thinking about where you should be. So a huge part of my game this year is just getting my mind right, like getting ready for these hunts, getting ready to be totally immersed and present in the experience so I can give it my absolute all. Where and a lot of that is just taking care of my responsibilities. And maybe I've got too much work going right now or whatever the case is. But, I like to be busy. I really like to have my time to go chase my dreams in the mountains as well, and so it is a tough balance. But yeah, just trying to find that balance right now, get my mind right for like these really tough hunts where I know I'm going to face adversity.
So I got to ask you, because you kind of mentioned it, all these different things that you're doing and trying to get your mind right and all that, and the organizational effectiveness is what comes to my mind. And what do you do to stay on track, or what do you do to stay effective? Organizational type effectiveness as far as that. I mean, are you just constantly typing reminders in your phone, or what are you doing to keep on track?
Yeah, I wish I was the most organized guy out there, and I'm not. I fly by the seat of my pants a lot. But it's like once you do these jobs for a while, whether it's a podcast or construction company, you kind of get the ins and outs and when things need to happen. And so yeah, I'm definitely a list maker. Like I keep a booklet, and that booklet is my journal for, the time being until I fill it up. And so I write everything in there. And then as far as keeping schedules, like I used to be able to keep everything straight in my head for this week and for next week, and anymore I've just got too many things. And so it's pretty much like making a note on my calendar anytime I have a meeting or an event or anything I've got to do, set a reminder on it, like just make sure I'm on top of my game and I'm not missing anything. And so that's a big part of my organization. And then like on these job sites, just making sure I'm in front of it, making sure I'm in front of ordering trim and calling subs, and, make sure I'm checking in with everybody and giving the clients updates, and really it's managing expectations, letting these clients know what we can do and what we can't do, and then holding them to that. And they hired me to be a leader on their job site. And so I try to lead from the front and lead from my actions. And so lately we're finishing up a house I'm handing off to the clients on Friday, 2 days before I leave on this hunt. And so yeah, we're busting it trying to get everything done. And same thing as a backcountry hunt. It's there's hurdles and there's challenges, but you just make your best decisions. You move forward. You be honest with people, and deliver the absolute best house I can. So it's not like super organizational. It's just like I just try to keep it straight day to day, mark things on my calendar, and just try to be in front of it and be as responsible as I can be.
No, that's good. I always liked doing the punch list. That was like my favorite thing because there's a sense of completion there. It's like it's something has come full circle to where you're fixing the minor little details before it's completely done and over with. Those are always cool feelings.
Oh, super cool. Yeah, it always feels good to finish them, and they're a marathon, not a sprint too. You know, it's like hundreds of thousands of man hours that go into them and organization, and it's definitely had its challenges over the last year, which is material availability, sub availability. Like it's always something. Like being a contractor is problem solving. Same thing as being a backcountry hunter. It's like problem solving back there. It's like you go back with the best intentions and the best laid game plan, and Mother Nature can rain on you for 5 days, or can snow on you, or big lightning storms, or you run into hunting pressure, or you don't find animals where you think you are. Like there's always these challenges you're going to face every hunt, and I try to like go into them with expectations or knowing what I'm going to face, and it seems like they're always tougher when I get there. And I think it's what I love about it is it's so challenging, and even dedicating my life to it, the entire year and training for them, it's still, I know it's I'm gonna have to ride the ebbs and flows and the highs and lows of the hunt. I know I'm gonna have to give it my absolute all, and I can never rest on my laurels. Like I can never rest on a buck that I shot last year, and I shot a great big buck, and here I'm this great hunter. Because if you go into season like that, you're going to fail. Like none of these animals know my previous accomplishments or what I've done. Like I have to prove it each and every year, and so it's what keeps me grinding, and keeps me mentally strong and hard, so I can go into these hunts and give them my all. So yeah, man, it's super fun.
No, that's awesome. So, what's kind of what's one of the first things when Brian Barney wakes up and gets out of bed? What's rolling through your head? Like, is it what you got to do for the day, or is it some type of motivation? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, it's morning time is just getting to that punch list, like starting to get things knocked off. And so I wake up, first things first, cup of coffee, 15 minutes wake up, and then usually I'm working on the podcast in the morning. I'm working on phone calls, subs. I'm getting everything done in those couple hours a morning before I have to be on the job site and work or get things done. And so like I just kind of get right to it in the morning and start checking things off my list. But yeah, it's not, I don't have many motivational thoughts in the morning or anything. Like it's just trying to get done and be productive for the day. And usually I'm an afternoon runner. Usually it's like I don't work out in the mornings very often. Like I will if it's the weekends, or maybe I'll do some push-ups or some pull-ups and get my heart rate going. But for the most part, I just get right to work. And then afternoons are when I get my workouts in and get my runs in. Usually my shooting my bow and that deal. Even though in the morning time, if I walk by that bow, I've got to fire a couple arrows out of it.
That's awesome. That's one thing I wish I did more of is shoot my bow like that, first thing in the morning or whatever. Normally it's not till way later in the afternoon. It's a few shots here and there, but I need to work on that and I will. So I got to ask you though, what inspires you? Like what makes you just like really think about things in a different perspective, or it tries it, not necessarily motivation, but like what inspires you, what makes you think, wow, that's really cool, I need to try and aspire to do that better?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I'd say, I get a lot of motivation from others. Like I love watching like some of Goggins stuff is great, and I get motivation out of that. But as far as like personal inspiration, like I think it's just this will to be at my best and be the best version of myself. Like it's and I get down like anybody else, and like stress is tough, like in the construction business, and wanting to deliver and wanting to do all the things I do. Like there's stress that comes, and so I just try to handle it as it comes. But as far as motivation, like I love the entire process of backcountry bow hunting. I fell in love with it, and it seems like each year my love grows. Like I enjoy being out there. I enjoy the chess match of trying to get within a stone's throw of a wary animal, of older age class buck or older age class bull. And in this challenge, like to be at my very best. Like I love playing the game. I love preparing for it. I love being on a hunt. I love the grueling nature of it. And so all of this is just kind of worked into a lifestyle for me where, I don't know definitely big bucks motivate me, and sure, I'd love to chase big ones and arrow big ones, but if you weren't enough before a big buck, you won't be enough after. It's like it's not the accomplishment that I'm chasing. It's more the journey. It's like the entire process. I love the training. I love the hunts. I love, the stock is such the payoff for me. Like those thrilling moments of heart-pounding action where my moves directly dictate whether I arrow that animal or not, and you have to make 100 right decisions in those moments and be quiet and play the wind and stay out of sight and use the ungulation. And it's this really tough moving target that takes like ultimate dedication. And so like I just want to be ready for that and ready for those opportunities. And so like it's a tough question, like what my inspiration is, but I think it's adventure. I think it's enjoying backcountry hunting. I think it's getting the most out of myself. I think it's like being in the best shape. Like I take a lot of pride in being in good shape, or take a lot of pride in being clutch and being able to make those shots. And so like I think it's just this personal quest, or this personal enjoyment that I've found through backcountry bow hunting, where it's just part of my life at this point. It doesn't even feel like I'm trying to motivate myself. It's just like it's almost part of me, if that makes sense.
No, that's awesome. I kind of started picking up on that. If you look at people that are successful, like your success in the backcountry, it's unrelated to anybody else and it's not inspired by anybody else. Just like my success may be inspired by somebody else, but that's only going to take you so far unless you actually motivate yourself and push yourself to those limits. You're never going to be successful because you're going to be chasing somebody else's dream. And I think that's pretty cool that you said that in the way you said that, because it totally makes sense. Like, who else is going to do the things that David Goggins has done other than David Goggins? And who is he going to beat at certain things without just pushing himself? Because I mean, he's in his own class. So it's kind of neat to see that perspective, and I've kind of seen that. And now it's not so much competing against other people. Like I'm competing with myself, to strive with myself to be better, to be the best I can be, and perfect that. And I think that's pretty cool, because the way you worded that was perfect. You're competing against yourself to get that experience. You're trying to motivate yourself and get the inspiration from the entire journey. I like the way that was phrased. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, good. I felt like I was rambling, so I'm glad it made sense to somebody at least.
So I got to ask you though, what's your what's the biggest thing that haunts you about something you've done or had happen in the backcountry that like you still think about to this day and want to try and like rectify that or something?
Man, it's like I try not to carry too much regret with me, but there's definitely, the animals that I've harvested some great trophies, and like I'm so proud of these accomplishments and things. But for every one of those, there's at least one I screwed up, if not two or three, and so like I've just messed up, and I just try to look at it, and I try not to let it get me too down. Like you make mistakes, and failure is a prerequisite of bow hunting. Like even the best, like we fail all the time. I'm gonna fail this year, whether that's fail on a stock, fail on a shot. Like it just happens no matter how hard you prepare. Like it's tough to be perfect, because the animals just they're fighting for their survival, and they're crafty, and they've evolved from thousands of years of avoiding predators, and so they're just going to win some of these battles. It's just going to happen. And so like I haven't had any major regret, because I've always lived to hunt another day. Like I haven't pushed my safety to the place of where I've hurt myself in the backcountry. Sure, I've messed up some stocks, and I've messed up some shots that I'd surely want back, but for me, it's just like looking at those and improving and getting better and being ready for the next one that I know I can create. And just like I started saying, like those bucks of our dreams, those bulls of our dreams are out there, and I know I can create an opportunity on them, and it's just being ready for it. And it's like learning from all these failures to become better and better in those moments, so I don't make them again. And so in a lot of these mistakes, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Like it takes me a while to learn from them too. Like sometimes I'll make the same mistake and I'll have to make it 3 times before I finally learn my lesson, and it becomes a hard rule for me. But I just continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to get better, and I really don't have many regrets. I would say like if I ever had a regret, or if I ever have a regret, it'd be giving in too early, or not giving my full effort, or letting myself make excuses. Like it's really easy to make excuses on a hunt. Why I wasn't successful or why it didn't come together. And like I regret using those excuses. Like I want to be real honest with myself. And when I fail, or I don't reach the goal that I've set forth, I need to accept that and take responsibility for it. And so I've just learned through those that, even during a tough hunt, I'm going to be way harder on myself if I give in early. Then it's going to be way harder on me if I give in early than if I just keep hunting, because I'll beat myself up for an entire year for giving up too early. But if I put in full effort and I give my absolute all and I go for it and I come up short, I don't feel so bad about that one. That I just chalk that up to the animals were better than me. Maybe it was the unit I chose, whatever the case is. It's like I just chalk that up and try to learn from it. So I would say those would be some of my regrets. But I really like, it's I've heard Joe Montana say, like you don't focus on the failures, you focus on the successes. And so really, when you ask me that question, it's tough for me to even come up with like a major regret I have.
Was there ever like a ridge that you wish you would have crossed, or a place that you've thought about going and never quite went there and just haven't made it back? Something like that.
Yeah, surely there's some of those spots where it's going to take another gear. And then I'm going back to like one of my favorite places on planet Earth this year for a high country mule deer hunt. It's going to be in Colorado. It's above 13,000 feet. And yeah, there's a basin where I saw one of the heaviest, biggest bucks I've seen in there, like a good 195 or whatever the case, like a giant, big, heavy, old Colorado mule deer. And I saw him in this basin with no approach to him, and no approach. I say that as there is cliffs in between us, me and him. There's a way to get to that buck, and I didn't find it on that trip. Even though there was a giant buck on that hillside, and yeah, it was definitely challenging, and I don't have ropes to make it down this cliff faces or anything, but there's a way to make it to that buck. It may take me a bunch of miles and a bunch of effort to go all the way around, but there's a way to kill that buck. So you can guarantee this year, like there's multiple basins I hunt, but I'm going to go up and take a look at this secluded basin where that giant lived up and through there, and just see what's living in there. So I'm sure there's places over the years that I haven't gone, or chose the right place to hide, the wrong place or the right place, or it's like you're really relying a lot on your instincts of where you want to go and what you want to do. But yeah, I mean, at this point, gosh, I really feel like I find that next gear and cover the country I want to go to for the most part.
No, that's so it kind of leads me to another question. Have you ever brought climbing gear to try and get to an animal?
No, I just don't have the skills with that stuff to try to get down to him as far as rock climbing gear and that. I do push my limits. Like, it's I've pushed it a little far at times. You talk about regrets. There's been a couple times where I've pushed it a little bit too far. I feel really comfortable in the steep, and I feel really comfortable mountaineering. Most of mine is all free climbing. Ropes just weigh a lot. I thought when I got a goat hunt, I was going to bring ropes in, and I've definitely had them in the truck before. But I've never had to use them to repel to shoot anything. And even with those goats, it's catching them in the right spots. And with those mule deer, like, I have been caught free climbing quite a bit. And like on the construction crew, I'm always the guy that does the high stuff, the highest roofs, the highest peaks, the most exposure. That's my job. And so I'm real good on the steep, and sometimes a bit overconfident. And I don't do a bunch of climbing, like my limited experience with it. But I've definitely pushed my limits. Like, I remember this giant buck in Colorado one time, and he was down in this group of trees, and there was like this avalanche chute that ran down to him, and I'm trying to look and see if I can negotiate this avalanche chute. And right about then, I see a doe and a fawn pop up from it. I think, well, gosh, if a doe and a fawn can come up that thing, I can surely go down it. And so I started down it. And those deer did not come from that avalanche chute. I'll just tell you that right now. Like, they had to come from the side basin and got into the chute and came up. There was something, but they did not come up that chute because it was all I could do to free climb down that thing, put my bow on my backpack, 3 points of contact, and actually get that nervous sweat, like when you get so far down and you really can't go up and can't go down, and almost start to get frozen with fear on it, which is the worst place to be on a roof or on steep. And really had to gather myself and take some deep breaths and climb down. So there was a sketchy situation there. Another one where I took this land bridge that saved me losing a couple thousand feet of elevation and gaining a couple thousand feet, and I thought I could make it okay, and it just kept getting steeper and steeper, where eventually I'm standing on a 60-degree rock slope trying to bounce off this rock slide, where it's just like, this is way safer to go to the bottom of this drainage and come back up the other side than it is to try to walk this land bridge. But I was already committed because I had already crossed so much steep, and I was halfway across it. Like, going back was as tough as going forward at that point. So there's definitely been some points where I pushed it a little too far. And then the three first rules of backcountry hunting are safety, safety, and safety. Live to hunt another day. No buck's worth dying for. And so a lot of these slopes that I go down, or that I try to negotiate, like, I just want to make sure that I'm really smart. And definitely in my younger years, I made some mistakes, but again, trying to learn from those and be better and make better decisions. But yeah, I've definitely been on the edge with those mule deer.
So it's not really mistakes made if you took something away from it. If you took something away from it, it's considered a lesson learned, right? It's no longer a mistake made, it's a lesson learned. It may be a hard lesson sometimes, but it's always a lesson learned. It's one of the things that I've picked up. You can call it a mistake because it is a mistake. You screwed up. But if you take something valuable away from that, it no longer becomes a mistake. It becomes a lesson learned. And that's the way I've been trying to like put things in perspective and learn from them. Everything you do, as long as you learn from it, something is going to benefit that. So, like you said, it's not really a mistake anymore, right?
Oh yeah, you're spot on. That's exactly right. Yeah, I haven't died yet, so it's all good.
So speaking of that, you just made a trip. You were out there at the Fieldcraft headquarters. Have you, and you talking about the rules of, no buck is worth dying for, safety first, all that stuff. You were out there at Fieldcraft. Did you up your med kit?
Yes, I definitely talked to him about upping my med kit. Yeah, I have, my med kit is pitiful. Like, that is not what you want to have me on a podcast talking about. But it has gotten better. I talked to my cousin, who's a EMT. He's worked as a firefighter. He's now a chief of the station. Really good with his EMT stuff. And so yeah, he gave me some pointers. And so I've upped my kit a little bit better than duct tape, but it isn't much.
So are you at least carrying like a tourniquet or a rat's tourniquet or
I
something like that? Or are you just
I
going to
meant
solely
to
rely
get
on the belt?
I meant to get a tourniquet, and I'm embarrassed to say I don't have one for this trip. I was going to add that to my kit.
Prime it up.
Gosh, I mean,
Prime it up,
yeah,
Brian. You can get 3 rats tourniquets for like $54. They're super lightweight. They're stretchy. You might even be able to use it as a belt or something if you broke your belt or whatever. I mean, it could have a multiple use, and you can get it like the next day. I'm pretty sure. Like you get 3 of them for like $54. If you want to get one, you can get one for 20. One's better than none, but 2 is one. So just remember that.
yeah, copy. No, I do need to get a tourniquet. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely important. Like, in that backcountry is so dangerous. Like, stuff could happen quick, and I just been lucky over the years. I really rely upon my fitness and savvy, but that'll only get you so far. Like, eventually something's gonna happen. So yeah, dude, I totally should order one. I don't think we get next day here in Ennis. Like, we live in a pretty rural area, but I bet you're right. I bet you I could get one here in a couple days and probably be here before my hunt. So that would be a good thing to add to my kit. I mean, I've always got 550 cord and things, but yeah, I mean, it's not like you want to be trying to MacGyver something up when something happens. Like, you got to get that thing on right now. If you're doing a tourniquet, like, you're bleeding out, and
30
so
seconds.
yeah, so
you roughly have 30 seconds before you lose consciousness. So not only
Yeah.
does it not need, it can't. So I used to carry one in my pack until I took a couple classes and like learned a little bit more stuff about it. And then you listen to the guys from Fieldcraft, which are awesome and know all that kind of stuff. And then I talked to like Austin and those guys about all that med stuff. And it's like you have you can have a tourniquet in your pack, and that's great if you have to help somebody else. But if you're out there by yourself, you need to have it accessible to where you look down and you see blood spurting out. You need to put it on because you have about 30 seconds before you lose consciousness that you can apply that. So that's, I mean, that's rapid. That is a rapid application. And that's something I never thought of, but now I actually have implemented it into my routine to where not only do I practice it, but my kids have these safety backpacks that they carry around with them, and they take them when we go out on hiking trips and all that kind of stuff. And within those, they have all that kind of stuff, that med type stuff. And even though they can't use a rat's tourniquet because it's too hard for them to be able to pull it, they have one that has a windlass on it. And they can't use it on themselves, but they could use it to put it on somebody else, and they actually practice it, which is it warms my heart to see that, to know that, you know, they're taking interest in something like that, and potentially, if they ever had to, could save my life or, you know, my wife's or somebody else's.
It's super smart, dude. Yeah, it's just a matter of time before, me or somebody else is in that situation. Yeah, being prepared for it is everything. 30 seconds. Yeah, that's pretty quick to cut my shoelace and get a stick in between and twist it up. So, yeah, I should definitely add a tourniquet.
So I would say get the rats just because they're easier to apply for yourself, or even if you didn't get a rats, I would go with like a North American Rescue. I think they're on like Cat 7 or something like that. Super lightweight. And then you could even order like a tourniquet holder. You put it right on your pack belt. It's there, it's always there, ready to go. And then with that being said, I'm kind of just wondering how's this hunt gonna go down? You're high country Colorado.
Yeah, I've got a couple of them coming up. So this one here in a few days is High Country Nevada, and then yeah, I've got a High Country Colorado as well.
Are you going solo?
No, well, kinda. I've got a cameraman I'm gonna bring. So we're trying to capture a lot of these hunts this season, and so yeah, I've got a good young go-getter that I'm super pumped with that's gonna be going. So I'm not solo, but he's definitely younger and doesn't have the experience that I have, and I will be leading the team. But I do have somebody going with me. I've actually got my buddy Dan is going to Colorado as well. He's got a tag there as well.
See,
So
so
yeah,
now
we've
you need
got
that
some.
3 pack, Brian. You need that 3 pack
Oh my
out so you
God.
can
If
each
all
have
three
one.
of us need a tourniquet, we're in real trouble,
Not
man.
that all
And
three of you need it, but all three of you have one. Because so
yeah,
my
yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing was like when I saw the whole Dave Brinker thing, and I've mentioned it so many times, but when he was out with Corey Jacobson, and I don't remember who else he was with, but if he would have been like an inch and just an inch off from where his actual wound was, it could have been a lot more serious of a situation. And that's kind of what like started opening up my eyes that, hey man, we play with sharp, pointy sticks and things that punch holes into things. And it's like, man, I really need to up my game on that too. So that's what kind of inspired me to do that.
Get super smart, man. Be prepared for these moments. And you're right, those razor blades on the end of 6 different arrows. Stuff happens quick. Not only David Brinker, I remember another guy shot something and was looking for the end of his arrow. It stabbed it into his calf like that same way, just from the end of his arrow. So yeah, that stuff can happen quick. I get, I work around danger all the time. Like I construction site, power tools, like backcountry, like my trail running. Like I took a spill off the Sphinx last year that was so gnarly that, I was coming down full speed off the top of that thing and just tripped and went full Superman into the rocks or whatever. So yeah, I know what you're saying. Like I get this false sense of confidence, and it's I definitely, as the years go on, well, not even as the years go on, just in general, I just need to be safer and be ready for these that come up. So I need to have some sort of a safety kit in my running pack, which I don't have. I need to have a better backcountry kit for my wilderness hunting, and which mine's pretty pathetic. Mine's some gauze and some duct tape and a couple Advil or whatever, but yeah, definitely a guy should go down that rabbit hole and be prepared for any situation, because that stuff happens quick and you got to react fast. So yeah, man, you're smart for doing it.
Thank you. Brian, it's been awesome. I really like talking to you and getting all this kind of insight into the mind of Brian Barney, aka the Mountain Goat, because it's pretty amazing watching. Like I was smoked when we were at the summit. I was absolutely smoked going there. And then on top of that, had some elevation, altitude stuff going on, and then here you are running up to the peak of the summit of a different peak, and then coming back down. And man, that's awesome to see that. And hopefully one day I can get myself into that condition to where I can be doing that too and pushing myself like that. But I appreciate it. And can you kind of tell everybody? I know you mentioned it earlier where they can find you, but if they want to maybe get a hold of you or read some of your stuff or any of that, where they can find it.
Yeah, so Eastman's Elevated is the podcast. So you can find that anywhere you find podcasts. And then, a lot of my writing is in the Eastman's magazines or on the website there at Eastman's. And then also we have videos. You can watch them Outdoor Channel and then also on YouTube. Just search Eastman's Hunting TV. And we're going to be releasing more of these episodes that were filmed for the Outdoor Channel that now we have permission to release to YouTube. So we're going to continue to release those and got some good ones coming up from last season. Got this big adventure I went on. It was another Nevada hunt and went deep into the hunt. 7-8 days. I was hunting with my buddy Dan and we were switching off filming each other on stalks and ended up arrowing a really nice buck, but really pushing my limits as far as hydration level is concerned. I think we did 3 days and I had 16 ounces of water that morning. And we ended up pushing all day and killing that buck in the afternoon. Dan had, I think, 32 to start the day, but we were empty of water and had to tie that buck up in a tree and try to make our way out to the truck. And then I packed in the next morning before light and packed them out. But just this grueling high country hunt where it all came together and arrowed this buck and pushed myself to really my limits. So that's a super cool film. I saw the edit on it. I'm really proud of it. So that'll be coming out. But yeah, and find me on Brian_Barney on Instagram. I try to post consistently on there, although it doesn't always happen, but try to give updates and let guys know, how my season's going and where I'm at. So yeah, super cool, man. I really appreciate you having me on. And you look fit. You look like you're skinny and in shape. You look like you're ready to rip for the mountains.
No, I'm just a chubby Midwestern kid, Brian, but I'm trying.
You're being modest. Yeah, you look good. You look like you've been working hard.
A little bit. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, Brian. It's always good talking to you.
Yep, no worries. My pleasure.
And once again, thank you so much for listening to the Publicly Challenged podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please subscribe on whatever platform it is you're listening to. Also, if you could leave a review, that would help us out. And you can check us out on Instagram or at publiclychallenged.com. And once again, thank you so much for listening to the show.